Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Annie O'Shaughnessy, and I am the co-founder and co-executive director of Starling Collaborative. And this presentation I'm about to give you is from my work at St. Michael's College, where I am the founder and coordinator of the Holistic Restorative Education Certificate Program. And I'm offering this presentation because what's included in this, the understanding presented here, is what really changed my game as an educator when it comes to restorative practices. So before I understood these concepts, I considered myself to be really good with youth. I didn't get in any fights with kids. I got them to do stuff. But it wasn't until a pretty embarrassing day at Centerpoint School, and my supervisor called me and he said, Annie, wow, you are really good at avoiding conflict with youth. You don't have any blow-ups. And I smiled proudly, and he went on to say, I'm not saying that's a good thing. And I paused and took a deep breath. Didn't feel very good because I was very proud of my skills. And he said, Annie, I want you to think about how much people in general, and these youth in particular, need to learn how to have conflict, how to be held accountable, and stay in relationship. So it might get messy. They need to understand and learn how it can get messy and it can be uncomfortable, but they're okay. And when they feel okay, they can then actually do authentic repair. And so what this presentation and the importance of it comes out of an observation that a lot of educators, well-meaning, believe that they are being restorative when in fact they're really forgetting about the accountability part. They are being really relational and really supportive, like I was, avoiding conflict or enabling students, good-heartedly, again, well-intentioned, but not pushing for the accountability that our systems need, that our adults and youth need. So that's what this presentation is hopefully going to give you the theoretical background to understand and to put into practice why we need to feel bad sometimes. So at the heart of all restorative practices for me is this technique, which is to pause. Stop what you're doing. Bring awareness to your feet on the floor. Take a breath. Bring some kindness to yourself. Check in with yourself and let go of what you think you know. So no response is going to be effective in response to challenging behavior if we don't check ourselves. And this is what EMT, mountain rescue, first responders do so that they don't cause more harm. Because if you rush into an accident site, you might miss that there's an electric wire hanging over your head or somebody else, another car coming out of control down the hill. So this is our kind of professional responsibility, I will say, in this work. And this is the quote that I often start with. It says, only the loved and connected can do anything positive with shame. Now, this is my opportunity to say, we are not talking about emotional shame. We are talking about biologic shame. What arises in our body as an affect in response to feeling that our place in the quote unquote tribe is at risk, whether for doing really great things or for doing bad things. We are feeling this affect, which alerts us to the possibility that we have to do something to get ourselves back in good standing. So please, please, please do not confuse the shame that is destructive, the emotional shame that is destructive. It comes from people trying and wanting to make other people feel bad, with biologic or reintegrative shame. And more on this in a moment. So the first thing I want you to do is to think about a time when you were made aware of harm you had done. Maybe it was something you said or did, or something you didn't say or do. Remember the feeling in your body. Remember what you did right afterwards or said. Was it to withdraw by shutting down, checking out, leaving the room? So think about a partner or a friend calls you out on something. What do you do? Or do you deny, give reasons for your actions, explain it away, change the subject, tell a joke? Or do you attack them back? Hey, you didn't do this either. You're not so great yourself. Or do you attack yourself by loading on self-blame, profusely apologizing? So all four of these are ways to avoid accountability. And we all do them. But we usually have a favorite one. So I want you to think about which is yours, which is your default mode. Now I want to think of your students, the most difficult students. Okay, the students who get the most attention in schools, get kicked out of classrooms, are attack other, usually. And that's just by chance, because we don't decide which of these knee-jerk default behaviors we're going to have in life. So more on this. This is all due to what I was talking before about affect script psychology, which is the biological affects that help us survive. So we are born into our human lives with a propensity to survive, and the 9 innate affects kick in immediately to help us do so, moving us to cry, connect, and learn. This is from a guy named Sylvan Tompkins and later Daniel Nathanson. So affects are the inborn protocols that, when triggered, bring things to our attention and motivate us to act. Affects are not the same as emotion. They are the biological systems that underlie emotion. So we're not in charge of them. They are, according to Tompkins, that we are wired for these things. So each of the 9 inborn affects you're going to look at in a second is an automatic reaction to the environment to give us information about how to survive. So we're a baby, we're an infant, we're helpless in the world, and we're going to just go back to primitive times. We're helpless in the jungle, and we need to communicate to our caregivers in order to survive. But we have no words. We have no thinking. So we have two, he believed and noticed in infants, we have 2 positive affects. One is interest and one is joy. It makes us more adorable, so people won't forget us, and they'll give us prime affection and prime nutrition. The neutral affect is he called startle, which just means, hey, caregivers, something's weird going on, pay attention. And then it makes sense that there are way more negative affects, meaning there are more ways that we can be killed in the jungle as a baby. And so we need more affects to communicate those ways to adults. And the first one is fear. Something big and scary is coming. Disgust. This thing I'm eating might poison me. The smell, something in the air might poison me. Anger, there's something that could cause harm to me that I need people to really pay attention to. And then there's shame. Shame is the biologic affect that we are going to be talking about. And it is when our place in the tribe, quote unquote tribe, is at risk. So they talked about it as not the way we talk about it in therapy. We're not talking about emotional shame. The purpose of shame, biologic shame, is to bring attention to whatever might have caused the positive affect, things coming at us that are good and supportive from the community, to be impeded. I mean, those things stop. And so that when those things stop, we can learn how to avoid the loss of positive in that moment or in the future. So our attention is focused with the biologic affect on something's amiss here. And my place in this quote unquote tribe is at risk. So it actually exists to help us foster our sense of belonging and mastery by asking us to make sense of and overcoming what gets in the way of the positive affect around us. So its ultimate purpose is to inform us. This feeling bad is a way of saying my well-being is at risk because I've done something. I don't know, but I am at risk of not being part of this community. Super important feeling, hard feeling. So successful restorative justice, according to Vernon Kelly, in all settings hinges on the ability of those involved to understand and use biologic shame as a positive force based on its inherited biologic function as a signal that positive emotions are within our reach if we can remove that which blocks them. So this is a lot to take in. I get it. But basically what it comes down to is when we're having a restorative conference or conversation with someone, if there is never biologic affect of feeling bad, that biologic shame arises, if they never feel feel bad about what they did, then this whole theory says what's going to motivate them to repair that authentically. So what we see often instead is we see a restorative conference, the student is told they should apologize. In order to get away from the feeling of biologic shame, they actually apologize to just get out. So that's the distraction, that's the blame self response. But it's actually not transformative. What we want is for strength of relationship and community, which restorative practices builds, to hold us when we feel biologic shame so strongly that we can actually say, you're right, I screwed up, I need to repair. We can't do that without what I call ballast. Before we move on to that, I want to tell you, do not confuse biologic or what John Braithwaite calls reintegrative shame with stigmatizing shame. All right, please. So what we need to avoid falling into those 4 behaviors is a strong ballast. And this is a concept that I developed in order to, because it just felt this way, that here we are, we're trying to navigate these seas, and you can see in this picture, there's lots of things going on. We're already stressed out, and then someone comes along and gives us feedback. Okay, I am going to deny, attack them, attack myself, or avoid. If I don't have enough ballast with that person, ballast, we're talking about motivation, capacity, and skill. So I need to be motivated to want to stick around and deal with the discomfort of accountability. I need to have the capacity, which means I need to feel safe. And my nervous system needs to be online, and I need to have the skills. I need to be able to communicate, to listen. I need practice in this, and it's hard. And so when those winds of accountability, shame, guilt, and fear come boiling down the pike on the ocean, then I need ballast. And what's cool about ballast is we can offer it in the moment. So if someone gave me feedback and they said, hey, I really didn't appreciate the way you left without doing dishes at our dinner party, you just took off. Oh boy, biologic shame rises up. I screwed up, and I really want to get invited back to those parties. I like them. Now, if this person says, hey, I love having you come, and I could see that you were in a big rush, so no worries at all. My request is that next time you do better. I'm like, oh, okay, I can get that, because they're seeing me and they're connecting with me as a human being. So to put it visually, that those choices we had earlier about the ways that you might respond to feedback that doesn't feel good, that biologic shame that rises up in our belly. Imagine just now, like sending an email, reply all, and you replied all and you weren't supposed to, and you wrote something. Oof. That feeling in your belly or your heart, racing heart, that is biologic shame. And here are those 4 ways that we tend as humans to respond. And think about your students here. All right. So which behavior, which response usually gets kids kicked out or suspended or sent to the office? Attack other. Okay, but it's just random which one you go to. So I kind of put myself down in order to gain sympathy when I do something wrong. So I am clear. I was never suspended. This is really important to build compassion. And this compass of shame not only builds compassion, but it provides an actual compass. It's like, well, I shouldn't say it like that. It provides an indicator for when we need to add more ballast to a student's boat. So if I'm giving feedback, hey, John, it looks like you are having trouble with this assignment. Yeah, I think it's stupid. I hate this work. Wow, sounds like you're having a really rough time. I know you to be a good student, and I know that you've worked through challenges before, so I'm wondering if something's going on right now that's causing you to have more trouble today than before. So that just then, I'm acknowledging that student's experience. I'm acknowledging past good work they've done. I just added a load of ballast. I said, I see you as a good student. I'm not attacking you. But notice how John, went to attack other. This is a stupid assignment. He went to attack other. And now I know He's not ready yet for full accountability because he doesn't feel enough ballast in this moment. Maybe he had a rough night. Maybe he got in a fight with his girlfriend or his parents. But I need to establish and build more ballast before I push for more accountability. Now, pushing for more accountability part is our job. We are not restorative if we do not push for accountability. So the way that this affect theory works in practice, just like I demonstrated, is I am concerned that you're not finishing this activity when I know that you're capable of it. All right. And then John feels this biologic shame rise up. He feels bad and he attacks me. Okay. But I provide qualities and we like to bring them down to safety, belonging, and voice, acknowledgement in the pair up protocol. If you know that pair up protocol, or you will learn it shortly, it's pause, acknowledge. The acknowledge part is the part where we're building ballast. I see you as a good human being. I see you as a good student. I know you have potential, and we're going to work this through together. And the repair part, this is your job. Help me out. Let's work together on this. Okay. So sometimes this takes a long time. The more trauma and chronic stress or trauma histories or developmental trauma a student has, or another adult, the more intentional, repetitive, consistent effort there needs to be to increase relational ballast over time. In this way, you slowly build their capacity to feel this biologic shame without landing on the compass of shame. So honestly, the first few weeks of school or the first week of school, I don't push for too much accountability because I don't have that ballast with the students who are most challenging. So I build that ballast over time, show them I respect them, give them voice, acknowledge their strengths, and then I begin to call for accountability. So it's the opposite of don't smile to November. And this is a crucial piece, is what we're shooting for is this with quadrant. So all of us, most of us in education today are way over here in support and care and concern, from low to high, where my picture is, that's high. And unfortunately, we kind of often stop there. I did. If I just care enough about these students and do enough for them, they will comply. They will not give me a hard time. And I was correct. But I was robbing them of esteem. I was exhausting myself, and it was not restorative. In order to be restorative, I need to move up into accountability and say, I see you. I honor you as a human being with dignity. And because of that, because I respect you, I'm going to hold you accountable because you matter. That's where with is. They are subjects to be honored. So it's, I am in this with you. We are having a hard time. We have until June to figure this out, and I believe we can. That's the message of restorative, not, oh, you had a hard day, so therefore you get a pass on being a jerk to everybody. Excuse my bluntness, but that's not what students need, or adults for that matter. I believe accountability is one of the greatest forms of love. I feel it when people hold me accountable because I know how hard it is to do. It takes a lot of courage to hold people accountable. But it's not just in the moment that we can add ballast. What's crucial across the school, in your classroom, in your office, wherever you work, to create the ballast universally. And that is with all sorts of tools that we teach you. And if you're working with us, you'll learn. But this is the framework on which all of our ballast building is based, which is we slow down 2 feet, 1 breath before we dive in to problem solving. We connect, we build relationship, and then we really roll up our sleeves together and work together. And then we pause and say, at the end, how did we do? Did we respect our agreements? Did we respect each other as human beings? What else do we need to do? Was any harm done? Those types of things. Now, what's amazing about this is that it's like brain science has finally caught up with indigenous wisdom, because this framework comes from indigenous wisdom. It is what is at the basis of a circle process. And but it aligns with Dr. Bruce Perry's neurosequential model of the brain, which says we need to have a regulated nervous system before we can relate to another human being. So underneath my photo there is relate. And before we can reason, before we can use our thinking brain, we have to be regulated. That's here at the brainstem. midbrain relationship before we can think straight. And this all, in order for it to be restorative, is to be held with the equitable lens and equitable aspirations that everyone is seen and heard. Everyone has a gift. Assumptions are busted about people. We learn about each other in these quadrants, and power is shared. So in a restorative school, conversations, IEP meetings, staff meetings, meetings with parents are structured like this. We slow down, and those 5 minutes we take to connect and check in build the ballast we need for that accountability. All right, we have to slow down. We need this. And that's our presentation around affect theory. I hope it has an impactful impact on you and your practice. Please write to me, Annie, at starlingcollaborative.org if you want to talk about it, because like I said, this concept of shame can really challenge us and make us uncomfortable, because it is not emotional shame. It is something happens before thought in our bodies based on biologic wiring to want to and need to belong to a community to survive. All right. Thank you so much.